Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Konich-Yeehaw podcast here on the Last Choice Network. I am Natalie, and once again, I am joined by Jared. Hello, Jared.
Nice to be here.
All right, and today it's going to be a little bit more of a laid back topic. We're just going to go through our top 10 favorite animes. Want to go ahead and put a disclaimer. We're not saying that these are like the best animes out there. These are just our personal favorites. Maybe if you're looking to get into something or if you just want to like maybe learn a little bit more about us, what we're into, this is a good opportunity to do that. So, without further ado, let's start with our number 10s. So I guess I'll go first.
Okay.
My number 10 that I wrote down was Komi Can't Communicate, which is a pretty recent anime. It's about, and I've talked about it before on another episode. I don't really remember which one now, but it is about a girl named Komi, and she's like the most popular girl ever, but she doesn't even have to do anything. And this really awkward boy, Tondo, who is kind of like a wallflower, and he learns that Komi is also just very awkward. And it's something that they have in common, and they become friends, and it's just like a little high school rom-com. And I really like it because I really like high school rom-coms in anime.
Yeah, and season 2 is I looked this up earlier today. Season 2 is actually coming out in April.
Oh wow! Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's kind of surprising, like to see it already be renewed like so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So my number 10 is Soul Eater. So the whole concept of Soul Eater is that there's this death city run by Death himself, and there's a death weapon Meister Academy. So there are two different types of people that go there. There are Meisters, which are people that handle death scythes, and death scythes themselves. So those are people that can transform into weapons. So their entire goal is to consume 99 evil souls and one witch soul so that they can become Death's weapon. So this leads the main character, Soul Eater, and Maka with some of their other friends as well to go on these adventures to hunt down 99 souls.
Mm-hmm. And I know that Soul Eater is a pretty classic. I want to say it was definitely one of like the early anime staples.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I really liked it too.
I would still consider it like a staple, and like these are anime that you should watch.
That's a good one to watch. Yeah,
hmm
for
I think
sure.
it was one of my like earlier ones that I watched as well.
Hmm.
And it is 51 episodes, so it's in that in between of like it's not exactly short, but it's not like, Naruto or anything like that.
Yeah, for sure. I know it was one that I never finished, and I need to go back and revisit it because I did really like it.
hmm
Um, yeah, it's a cool show. Okay, so moving on, my number 9 is Wonder Egg Priority, which came out in winter of 2021. It is definitely like dark.
hmm
It's a little hard to make it sound good, I guess you could say, because the plot is so dark. But it is about a girl whose friend recently uh completed suicide, and she learns that there is a way, or she is told that there is a way that she can bring her friend back. And it's through helping other, it's kind of like you could say it's like a spirit world kind of thing where she can go into another dimension and help other girls who, or other people, I should just say, other people who have um, completed suicide and kinda help them overcome their trauma. Um, and they have all of these like, their trauma is manifested in all these, like, different kind of monsters that they do, like, physically fight, with, like, magical weapons and animal companions and all that stuff. And I think it's just, I think it's a really unique story, and I think it was really well written, I think it looked beautiful, and I just really liked it whenever it was coming out.
Yeah, it definitely has that, like, darker magical girl, like, um, idea about it with the whole these are very bright, colorful
Yes.
characters, especially,
Mhm,
like, the over exaggerated monsters that they fight, but the source material is actually, like, pretty, like, serious.
mhm,
Um, Also, if I remember correctly, it's an original work, so it doesn't have a manga or anything to it.
mhm. I'm not sure about that one, but I believe it.
Mhm. So, my we're on number 9. My number
Yes.
9 is I have such trash taste sometimes, but it's the quintessential quintuplets. So, basically what happens is that the main character is this straight A student that's, like, lower class. And he is hired by this rich guy to tutor all 5 of his daughters, which are quintuplets. They're all really dumb too. And so, it starts off with drama to where they all dislike him for one reason or another, and then it turns out that, as they spend more time together, they all fall in love with him and things like that. It's really mushy and really a little bit shameful to have on a top 10 list. But I mean, it's if you like good fluff, like this is for you. Like
Mhm,
it has all of the since there's 5 girls, it has all of the, like, archetypes that you need, like the tsunderes and the younger sister and the older sister and things like that. And so if you just want a good, um, rom-com that's got everything that you could want from it, this is the show for you. It's the first show on this list that it was so good that I had to keep reading. Well, I had to read the manga immediately after I finished it because I had
you
to
could
know what
see
happened.
what happens.
Yes, I had to know what happens next. So this came out in winter of 2019. Um, and the finale of it comes out also in April. It's gonna be a movie.
Mm, that'll be interesting to see.
Mhm.
Alright, so then now we are moving on to our number 8 on the list. So mine is K-On! I mean, talk about having some fluff on your top 10. K-On! I feel like is a really, like it's like one of those staple fluffs, like, you've heard of it,
Yeah.
and it's yeah, I love it. I didn't realize how much I would love it until I started it.
Mhm.
Essentially, K-On! Is it's a slice of life, it's an idol, but maybe not like, if you are into, the anime lingo, maybe not quite the idol, pl like, type that you're thinking of. Because usually whenever I think of idols, I think of, like
Love Live, where
I
it's
think of
like
Love yeah,
all
you
the
think of Love
girls
Live,
with
singing and dancing, and they're all, like, dressed in different costumes all the time, whereas K-On! Is like, they're strictly like, they're in high school. It's a after school club, and they're kinda rockers,
yeah.
Like, they're not like, I'm not gonna say that they aren't pop, but they're all, like, playing their instruments, like, everybody plays an instrument. There's no even just, like, the singer plays the guitar, right? So and definitely, I think, in their songs, they had to have this, like, kinda punk rock feel, and it's, like, super cute to see too, you know? These, like these girls practice, I don't know, it's super slice of life, a lot of things happen in it that don't even matter, but
Mm,
it's really cute,
yeah.
and I love it.
Let's see. So my number 8 is the complete opposite of that. It is an anime called Zankyu no Terror. Came out in summer of 2014, and the idea or the what it is that there are these two main characters that they grew up in an institution which the government's like plan was to artificially make them savants, which are just highly intelligent people. Um, and to rebuke that, now like 12, 15 years later, they are terrorists. So it follows the plot of these two terrorists that are it's very reminiscent of Death Note, except instead of a
Mhm.
Death Note, they use bombs, and they actually purposefully make sure that they don't kill anyone. But it has that like we have the perspective of the evil or the I guess the bad guy protagonists that are hard to root for. Then you have the detective, the like hardy detective that's like following along like the clues that they leave out that they leave. And then you have the kind of like normal girl that's been br- uh, unintentionally brought into all of this. The main thing about this that really brought a lot of people into this show is that it is the music. The music
Mhm.
is phenomenal. Um, I can't remember right now who did the music, but um, it's really something. It's really something. It's only 11 episodes, and it's a very deep story.
I
I
didn't know it was only 11 episodes, it's so short.
Yeah, and I wish I knew more about like Japanese like historical context to it because there must have been something. I tried looking it up and I really couldn't find anything, but there must have been something that this show is like a message that they're trying to convey, but I really couldn't find
Mhm.
one. Like whether there is something going on with like the government or something around the time where this was
Mhm,
made,
mhm.
but I really couldn't find anything. And so I wish I knew the context to it.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe, something that I could look in or help you look into too. Yeah, I like that kind of stuff too, you know?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, going on to our number 7, mine is Death Note. And, Death Note, one of those, mid-2000s shows that is just kind of, I would say popularized anime,
Oh, yeah,
um,
it's definitely
or
like
maybe, like, repopularized anime, I should
it's
say.
it's definitely one of the, like, must watches.
Yeah, and it's also relatively short. It's not 11 episodes, but it's 37, which I remember even whenever I was starting anime, I was like, "Wow, that's pretty short, actually." Um, but yes, the premise, Light Yagami, high school student, genius, perfect boy, whatever, finds a death note, which is, a notebook from it yeah, the notebook that belonged to a Shinigami, which is a god at death. Um, and whoever or whatever name he writes down in it, as long as he writes down the name and thinks of the person's face, they will die. And there's a whole bunch of rules that like the book goes over, but that's the premise. And I really liked this show because of how it meshed something kind of like mythical and traditional, like the Shinigami, like the god of death, with a modern setting. Um, I also really liked Ryuk as a character.
Mhm.
I liked all of the Shinigamis as characters because, I think it's interesting to see in the little glimpses that we do get of them in their realm that they aren't, like they're not hateful beings. I don't know, like, I feel like in a lot of, like, Western media, you know, you think of the Grim Reaper or something, like someone who is, I don't know, like, really scary and menacing,
Right.
and the Shinigamis, like, they play cards because 'cause they're
Yeah.
bored and they don't know what else, you know? And I thought that that was interesting to see, and it's a interesting story, the way that it unravels. Some of it is, like, really dramatic,
Oh, yeah.
but, I think that adds humor to it, whether it was intentional or not.
Mhm.
And yeah, I really like Death Note.
To keep with the name game, my
Let's
number
do this.
7 is Death Parade. So, Death Parade's, um, plot is that whenever you die, you either go to heaven or hell. But there are some people that go to this place called, Quindicim, which is a bar that in, like, limbo that is owned by this character named Decim. And he's the master of the bar, and he plays a game with the dead person. It's like bar games, so like darts, bowling, things like that.
Mhm.
And if they win the game, then as they play the game, I don't remember whether they have to win or not, but as they play the game, um, SM will determine whether or not they are reincarnated or sent to the void. And so
Mhm.
it's this really like interesting of like you get to learn about all these people's lives while they're doing a silly little, bar game.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if I remember correctly, a lot of them are like kind of depressing.
Mm.
Like there's the main one of the main characters that shows up there. She's a soul that's like sent there to play a game, but she doesn't have any memory of her life, and so SM can't determine whether or not to reincarnate her or not.
Mm.
And then I think she gains memories throughout the show or something like that.
Oh, I see.
That came out in winter of 2015, and it's really interesting because another show that didn't have manga this one is another show that didn't have a manga. It actually came from a this like contest during it's called the Young Animator Training Project, Anime Mirai 2013, and they released a movie for that. And so then they won the contest, I believe, and so they got to make the entire series.
Wow, that's really cool.
Mm. And it's only 12 episodes. A lot of mine are kind of short.
It's fair.
Mhm.
Alright, moving on up. We're at number 6 now, and the one that's in my 6th place is Dorohedoro, or Dorohedoro, depending on how you pronounce it. I say Dorohedoro. I've actually heard it been pronounced both ways.
Mhm.
Which I like Dorohedoro because I don't understand its plot. It's just I like the vibes.
Mhm.
Um, General plot, we got, Caveman, Alligator Man, his best friend, Nikaido. Um, they're vibing in the underworld. It's there's, like, magic, it's fantasy, it's horror, it's mystery. Um, it's wild.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But I think mostly it's just a fun time.
It's just a fun time. I know, like, there are arcs that will start and end, like, within an episode, it feels like, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
Where everything just moves so fastly or
yeah.
so fast.
Oh yeah, the zombie arc that was just kind of
Yeah.
thrown in.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all very random, but I love it. I love the vibes,
Mhm.
and I love the world. It's an interesting world. So, yeah.
Okay. Um, are we on 6 now? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
My number 6 is Gundam Thunderbolt. So you can watch this in 2 ways. They released it as a 4 episode or 8 episode OVA, but I recommend watching it as its original 2 movie release. The pacing is just a little bit better with the movie. Um, and so you don't have to watch any recaps or anything like that. Basically, so what happens is you really don't need to know very much like Gundam lore to understand this. It is pretty standalone. But basically,
Mhm.
there's Earth Federation versus Xeon, and they're in a place called the Thunderbolt sector of space during the 1 year war. So the the main character for the Earth Federation is Fleming, and then there's a main character for Xeon, which is Lorenz. It's really interesting because so in the original Gundam, they make it very like straightforward. This is good guy, this is bad guy. But in this one, it's incredibly like vague who the good and bad guy is in this. There's not really like they kind of make it a point that both sides are negative. Gundam's big whole
Mhm.
thing is that like war bad,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
one character is like he's like upper echelon, like rich kid, like ace pilot, and he gets the Gundam that can go super fast and things like that. And then the other one is he's a part of like the shoot, what is it called? Like the death squad, to where it's basically people that are like dispendable, or
Mhm.
expendable. And so like his entire squad are people that are like missing body parts and things like that. He starts out missing both of his legs, I believe, and then they're like the government is like, we actually have to cut off your arms as well so that we can hook you into the machine to make it go super fast. And he's like, okay, what am I going to do? Say no? I have nothing, I have nothing left. And so
Mhm.
it's like a big like government bad, war bad, but it's also big robots and awesome action scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you just want to watch like big robots with an awesome action scenes and you don't really care about getting too like into something, this is a good one to look at.
Mhm. Well, going into now number 5, I have, for me, Kuromukuro, which I talked about a lot in the, mech episode that we did previous because it's one of the only, mech animes that I have completed, and I really liked it. Um, I really liked it because I think I just really like the premise
Hmm.
of, like, that, like, in Japanese myth, ogres were, um, alien mech robots.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like I feel like it's presented in a really interesting way.
Hmm.
Um, and I really like the characters in it. I really like the way that they interact with each other. I like the plot a lot. And I hope that there is a second season because it ends on a cliffhanger. And that's all I have to say about that.
Okay. To keep on with the mech genre, my number 5 is Code Geass. So Code Geass is a mech show about there is war going on during the Empire of Britannia, and that's in their conquest of Japan, and you know, war bad. And the
Mhm.
main character is Lelouch Lamperouge. He's a high school student that's like a super genius, and he gets this ability to what if he can look at someone's eyes, he can make them do whatever that he wants them to do once. And so he has to go through like strategically like when to use it and things like that. And he
Mhm.
ends up becoming the like leader of the resistance against Britannia, and there's a lot into it. There's a lot of twists and turns and things like that.
Yeah, I actually didn't know the plot of Code Geass, so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting. Like I I am a pretty big fan of um war bad, government bad. As you can tell, that one, two, three of them on my list are that. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, no, it is another like if you want to see mechs do some cool mech shit, like this is a good show for that.
Mhm.
It's also so it also like is early 2000s, so it has like romance and like humor, a lot of humor to it, like high school humor as well. Like there's a scene where they're at like their high school festival and they use one of the mechs to make a giant pizza. Like it still has
Nice.
like high school humor to it, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
gritty horror as well.
Mhm. That's cool.
Mhm,
Alright, uh, moving on up, number 4. So my number 4 is Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is actually something that I would like to revisit soon,
mhm.
but, I would say it's another one of those you gotta watch it, man.
Oh
You
yeah,
gotta watch it.
must watch.
Um, it is a must watch, for everybody, I would say. It's rundown of the plot. We got 2 brothers we're in the world of like where alchemy is possible, which the way that alchemy works, there's a law of equivalent exchange. So, in order for something to be obtained, something of equal value must be lost. So, these brothers, their mother has passed away. This isn't a spoiler, this is like the big first episode.
Yeah.
Their brother's passed away, and whenever they're still young, they try to bring her back to life with alchemy, which is like a forbidden act, right? Or it's like taboo, like really taboo. And the youngest brother loses his entire body, and the elder brother loses his arm and leg. And then like they don't get their mother back. So they from there grow up to be pretty um, well acclaimed alchemists. I mean, when I say grow up, I mean like they were 12 and now they're 15. So like
Yeah, it's
not
like
like
3 years.
adults.
Yeah.
Yeah, not like adults, but like whatever. And then they just go on these different adventures. They do work for their government or they are attached to their government. Of course, that relationship twists and turns as the show goes on.
Mhm,
Um and it's also the only anime that I have read the entire manga to as well.
mhm.
So I feel like that counts for something. Also, why I have it really high up because it definitely had a hold of me
Oh, yeah.
whenever I was consuming it.
Yeah, I mean, I am 100% like open in saying I think that Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is the best anime ever made. Like it's number 1 on my anime list. It's number 1 on a lot of like anime ranking sites. I think
By the way, my anime list is a
oh
website. He's not
yes,
saying his
yes.
anime
Sorry, not
list.
on my anime list.net, like the website. Um
Yes.
and I really think it is like a quintessential show for every anime watcher to watch.
Hmm. Oh yeah, for sure.
So my number 4 is Land of the Lustrous. So the concept is that it's in the future and they're these organisms called gems. It's kind of like Steven Universe. So
Mhm.
like their bodies are made out of different gemstones, and they have different roles that they have to do like around their like living space, and they have to fight these things called the Lunarians, which are these like holy beings that come from the moon that want to shatter them and take their bodies. So the main character is Phosphophilite, or just Phos,
Mhm.
and she or they, because in this show they actually use they pronouns for every character. Every character is genderless. Um, so they are the one of the most fragile gems. They're not very good at doing anything. And so they get put to make an encyclopedia and then meet another friend and meet tons of other friends to try to put this encyclopedia and try to figure out what they want to do with their life. Like, what is it? There's a lot more than that, but it gets really spoilery. Um,
Mhm.
there's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of breaking. This show is one of the few shows that I watched it. I own the Blu-ray. I pre-ordered the Blu-ray, and I am caught up with the manga because I don't think it's going to get a season 2, unfortunately, but it really needs it because the manga is so good.
Mhm.
um, this show also stands out because I think that this is the best CG has ever looked in anime. So
Mhm.
if you want to make a good example of good CG in anime, turn to this show because it is one of the few shows that they have examples of it in 2D, like because they had previews for 2D previews before that they made it in 3D, and the 3D honestly looks better.
Mhm.
Probably the only time I'll ever say that.
Yeah, I know you showed me those, side by side shots, and it is, really cool to see them,
Mhm.
like, how they look in both styles.
Right.
Alright, so then moving on to number 3. My number 3 is Ouran High School Host Club, and, I mean, we're gonna talk about a show that had absolute hold of my life, whenever I was younger. This is it right here. Another mid-2000s show, classic, about a girl who is, well, I mean, lower class. Yeah, a girl who's lower class who gets into an elite private academy. So it's a bunch of rich people. She gets there on scholarship, and she gets mistaken as a boy because she has short hair on the first day and joins the host club. And because she's in debt to them because she broke a 8 million yen vase. And that's the inciting action, right? So then she's in this club and it's all boys. And she's the only girl, but like none of the guests know. Like she continues to wear like a male uniform, and most of the humor is around that. Um, but I really like it because this was the first anime that I watched personally, and I think that it really introduces all of the tropes so well.
Mhm.
Like, and it's so aware of all of the tropes that they're introducing, and I actually think that's like really really fun. Like, I
Yeah.
think that definitely adds to the humor of it. Like, I remember whenever in one of the early episodes, like, you know, Tamaki, the main, or the president of the club, was like, "Oh," like, describing, like, in our club, like, which character is which, and he's like, "Obviously, like, Haruhi and I are, like, the romantic leads or whatever."
Yeah.
And then and then they're like, "Well, then what does that make us?" And he says, "Oh, you guys are the homosexual supporting cast." Like, that is such a self-aware joke to make in an anime.
Mhm.
and I think it's perfect.
Yeah, that's definitely a good for like if you're just getting into anime. It's a really good one to
Mhm,
watch. Um, my number three is the Monogatari series. So I couldn't pick out just one. The entire series. It's a little long. I won't lie about that. It's not like One Piece or anything, but it's a little long, and you have to get a guide to know how to watch it in order. So it's not
mhm,
exactly new user friendly. um, but so the story is that the main character, Koyomi Araragi, is he's a loser, and he comes across this gorgeous vampire that is dying. And he makes the decision to give up his life so that she can get hers back. And she ends up sparing him and making him her thrall, or yeah, her thrall. So he becomes a vampire, and through the entirety of it, it's him solving different characters' problems that they have with different, like, they're called aberrations, but it's essentially like yokai and shoot, there's a specific word that I thought of yesterday, but I can't remember. But there's like the monkey's paw. There's different like gods that are afflicting these different characters, and so he makes like goes out of his way to help them out. And so,
mhm,
there are different arcs and things like that. It's really good. I mean, I own almost all of the light novels for it,
mhm,
and it's something that I've watched probably twice and then read through. And so it's really good. Um, it's got romance, it's got humor. There's an the first book has like 2 pages of him describing a girl's panties. And so I won't lie, it is a little pervy sometimes.
mhm.
But that's just kind of part of the humor because they're all like, because he's like a high school boy. Like, I don't know if you know this, but high school boys are kind of pervy. Yeah, great characters. It's really good, personally.
All right. Moving on to number 2. We're almost there, guys.
Yep,
So
almost there.
number my number 2 is Sarazanmai, which man, I love this anime. I still think about it every once in a while. It came out spring 2019, and it's the magical girl anime, but for boys.
Mhm.
It's basically it follows these 3 high school boys, and oh goodness, how do I describe this plot? Uh, they're 3 high school boys, and they meet a kappa in in the city. They're in the city. And this kappa, there's this organ that it steals in a certain way that is humorous. And when the kappa steals it, it transforms the boys into kappas, like little kappas. And the only way that they can become human again is by stealing that organ in other people. Um and it has them like reveal their darkest secret, or darkest, I'm putting it in quotes. Some of them are pretty dark, but like their darkest
Yeah.
secrets. And I think it's just a really funky show. I love the colors, I love the animation. There's music
Yes.
and singing. There's music and singing, um, which almost is a spoiler, so sorry if, because to me it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Um, but this person, this artist, I believe it's the artist, maybe it's the director, I'm not sure, but they did Revolutionary Girl Utena back in the day, and there are many parallels between those two.
Mhm.
Revolutionary Girl Utena also being like a kind of magical girl anime. Um, and I just love it. And I think it does so much in 11 episodes. It's great.
Yeah, it really does. Like, it is so over the top. Just you just have to watch the first episode and you're hooked.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah. That's how I was.
mhm. My number 2
Mhm.
is the big boy, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Another, like, you can't just pick one season, you gotta do the whole series. This was the very first show that I watched where after I finished it, I was like, "I have to read the manga." It's the very first time I ever did that, and I do not regret it. I am so excited for more to be animated. If you don't know, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is the story of the Joestar family who are possessed by an intense psychic strength. So they have these things called stands, or at least most of them have these things called stands. Um, they're essentially psychic people that have powers, um, and they go through. Each family member goes through an adventure throughout their lives, and they face the forces of evil because
Mhm.
stand users are drawn to each other. And so where there are good stand users, there are evil stand users. And it's bizarre. It is bizarre. Like, that is
Mhm.
just the best
Mhm.
way to put it.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
um it does some of the most unique things, and it is referenced so much in other media. Like, even like Western media has JoJo's Bizarre Adventure references. Um,
Mhm.
the writer Hiroki Araki, he took influence from Western bands, Western bands. He took influence from um, artists. He took influence from um, by artists I mean like fashion, as well
Mhm.
as like classical artists, like statues and things like that. And it is really iconic. And if you've never seen JoJo's Bizarre Adventure before, go watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I won't necessarily
Mhm.
say that it's a must watch, like as a grand whole, but as me personally telling you, go watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Right on.
Mhm.
All right. We have arrived to our number ones, our top animes, personal
We
favorites.
made it.
And yes, we made it. And my personal favorite anime, I think, is Devilman Crybaby, the one that came out in 2018 on Netflix.
Mhm.
I just I love my man, Masaki Yuasa. I definitely, if you've listened to our other episodes on this podcast, I spent a good while talking about Yuasa and why I love him very much. So Devilman Crybaby, it's a what you want? It's like a reboot.
Yeah,
You can call it reboot, right? It's a reboot of anime that is very old.
yeah.
Don't know how old. Sorry, but it's very old, and it follows Akira and Ryu. Akira being the Devilman who has the powers of a demon and the soul of a human, and Ryu who, well, you just watch. Um, Ryu, who is kind of like the master manipulator of the whole situation, and I just I love the way that this man draws things.
Mhm.
I love his movement. His exaggeration. I love how psychedelic all the horror aspects are and all the gore.
Yes.
Um, but I just remember watching it and being like, I've never seen anything like this, and that honestly paired with the soundtrack. I actually think the soundtrack's really good too.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Um, yeah, like there are some moments where like an episode will end, and then when it goes into that ending credit like song, I feel that. I feel it in my soul a little bit, you know. Something in me gets really excited. Yeah, but I really like Devilman Crybaby.
Yeah, Devilman Crybaby is one of the few shows that I have watched multiple times. I have watched it all in one sitting with one of my friends
Mhm.
because it's only like what
It's
10,
10
yeah, it's
episodes.
10 episodes. Like you can do that. And but
It's not for
it is not
everybody.
for everybody. I will tell you that right now. It is not for everybody. But if it's for you, it's for you.
You'll love
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Now, my number one is Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica. This is a show that has been with me for a long time, and it has been my favorite for a very, very long time, pretty much ever since I saw it. So the show is there are these girls, they're magical girls. The reason that they're magical girls is because this like cat creature comes up to them and offers them a choice. If you become a magical girl, then I will grant one of your wishes. Seems simple enough. And when they
Mhm.
become magical girls, they have to fight off these things called witches, and witches feed off bad energy of people. Um, without spoiling anything, this show is the best example of the 3 episode rule. Watch the first 3 episodes and then decide whether or not you want to continue watching it or not. It's only 12 episodes, but to try to not spoil it, the only thing I'll say is this is the show that really popularized the dark magical girl genre.
Mhm.
So if it weren't for this show, we wouldn't have a lot of other shows.
Right, yeah.
And I don't know if I would necessarily put it as like a like quintessential show for anime watchers to watch, but I think it's definitely a good one. I mean, obviously, it's my number one,
Mhm. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I love this show. The soundtrack, the visuals. I love. It's made by Shaft. Shaft also made the Monogatari series. I love that company.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. I hope, if anything, maybe just take this as, some suggestions, right? This is what we're into. Maybe if you are into anything that we talked about, go check it out. I am Natalie.
I'm Jared.
I was Yes, I was joined by Jared, and, just thank you for listening to Konich-Yeehaw here on the Last Choice Network, and we will see you next time. Yeehaw.